Related development, the Kremlin has condemned German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's decision to have Germany and Ukraine develop the joint production of long-range missiles and said that it was nothing but a further provocation of the war in Ukraine. Russian spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said he hoped that despite such provocative moves and all the obstacles, the peace process will continue. And another round of talks between Russia and Ukraine will take place. Meanwhile, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have also said that Germany's plans to jointly develop long-range missiles with Ukraine showed that it was already a participant in the Ukraine war. This comes after German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said his government would not impose any range limits on the missiles which could be produced in Ukraine and Germany during the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Berlin. The defence ministers of Ukraine and Germany have signed a memorandum which includes direct German investment in Ukraine's defence industry and broader agreement between Ukraine and German arms manufacturers. Lavrov has also said that Berlin's decisions were building tension and added that he hoped responsible politicians in Germany would make the right conclusion and stop the, quote, madness, unquote. Meanwhile, Germany has also announced that it will continue to back Ukraine with a package worth around €5 billion. Zelensky has thanked the Chancellor for the missile production in Ukraine and the aid package. Germany's new Foreign Minister, Johann Wadeful, met his US counterpart, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, for an inaugural visit in Washington. Wadeful pushed back against Russian accusations that German support for the construction of Ukrainian land-based missiles is warmongering. We're now joined by Glenn Grant, who is an ex-advisor to Ukrainian Defence Minister, who's in Riga, Latvia. Thank you very much, Glenn, for joining us on the program. I want to start with the diplomacy that's currently going on. We see once again a repeated statement on Donald Trump's Truth Social, accusing of possibly of Putin tapping him along. Donald Trump has now been outspoken about Vladimir Putin multiple times now, but yet not much action coming to fruition. Where do you think Donald Trump lies in the current state of the Ukraine and Russia conflict?
I think this is quite complex because clearly Donald Trump is on the side of Russia. I don't care what anybody says. Everything he does supports Russia and supports Putin. He loves Putin. He's made that clear over the last 10 years, time and time again, that he thinks Putin's wonderful. So I think that what Trump is doing is sort of pushing Putin to at least agree that something has to be done. But Trump doesn't want to anger Putin and clearly doesn't want to use sanctions at the moment. So if there is a 2-week deadline, as many people are trying to say, I don't believe it personally, but if there is a 2-week deadline and Trump talks himself into a deadline, then he's almost got to do something. Otherwise, he completely loses face internationally.
How have you analysed Donald Trump's mediation efforts? I mean, he said 24 hours was his time before the presidency, and now we've seen over 120 days in office now from Donald Trump. He's going on and saying that he wants people to stop dying, yet when these big civilian strikes happened and there's multiple civilian fatalities, we see a lack of action. We sometimes think that he possibly might be going back to Ukraine. The highlight of that was the meeting at the Vatican, but yet no cigar when it came to actual movements towards Ukraine. Glenn, what have you got hopes for these direct talks between Russia and Ukraine, possibly happening on June the 2nd in Istanbul? Obviously, we saw a 1,000-person prisoner swap previously, but what are your thoughts that could come out of them?
Personally, I don't see any real change because what Lavrov and Medvedchuk and Putin have been saying, they've actually been basically hardening their line against Ukraine, and what they're looking for is capitulation from Ukraine or just continuing delay so that the war goes on and Russia gets more and more and more ground away from Ukraine. I mean, as we've seen recently, they're now stacking up their troops on the borderline between Sumy and Kharkiv, and in both places they've started taking ground towards those two major cities. So I don't think Russia has any intention whatsoever of giving any single thing they can to Ukraine. This is either capitulation of Ukraine or the war continues.
Glenn, thank you so much for joining us on the programme. We